Okay, you know the scene. Every single fall, the weather starts to cool down, the leaves are changing, and then, bam! Suddenly you've got these weird shield-shaped bugs crawling all over your windows and walls. They're not your in-laws, thankfully, but they're definitely uninvited. So let's get to the bottom of this mystery.
And no, you are not imagining it. You're definitely not alone in this. It's a real thing, a synchronized event that happens every year. So what is going on? Why do they seem to materialize out of thin air the second you break out your favorite sweater? That's the exact question we're here to answer.
All right, first things first. We have to identify these little invaders. Because their sudden arrival, well, it isn't random at all. It's actually a predictable biological mission that happens like clockwork every single year. Here they are. This is the brown marmorated stink bug. Its shape is pretty easy to spot, kind of like a little brown shield. The best way to think of them as seasonal squatters. They're not looking to move in forever. They just want to crash for a season. And believe it or not, they have a schedule. The whole invasion really kicks into high gear around September. It peaks in October, and then it keeps right on going through November. So as you can see, their big move is tied directly to the calendar. It's not a fluke.
So that brings us to the big question, why? Understanding their motivation is absolutely key to figuring this whole thing out. What are they actually looking for when they decide your house is the perfect winter getaway?
This right here is the magic number, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The moment the outdoor temperature consistently drops below that point, it's like a biological alarm bell just goes off. It's a signal to every stink bug in the area, winter is coming and it is time to find warmth fast. Now, this is super important because it clears up a lot of misconceptions. They are not in your house to raid your pantry. They're not looking for water. And they are definitely not trying to start a family inside your walls. Nope. Their goal is incredibly simple. Find warmth and find shelter so they can survive the winter. That is it. So how does a whole army of these tiny squatters get past your defenses? Well, your home probably isn't as sealed up as you think it is. These guys are experts at finding tiny, often invisible entry points, little cracks around windows you'd never notice, gaps up in the attic, or even small openings where pipes and wires come into the house. Okay, so they're just trying to stay warm, they don't want our food. That doesn't sound so bad, does it? Well, even though they aren't destructive, they are a long, long way from being the perfect house guests. Let's be clear, they won't bite you. They won't chew through the structure of your home, so that's the good news. The real problem is, well, they're just a huge nuisance. They can suddenly show up in massive numbers, they leave behind little stains on walls and curtains, and then there's the main event, that notorious smell. And this just perfectly describes what you're in for if you startle one or, even worse, crush it. They release this defensive chemical that smells, well, a lot like cilantro or maybe spoiled fruit. It is a really pungent, unpleasant odor designed to tell predators to back off. And honestly, it's very effective. Now, on to the good part. Because knowing why they get in and how they get in, that gives us the power to actually stop them. So let's talk about how to turn your house into a fortress they just can't get into. Seriously, prevention is your best weapon here, so you gotta go on the offensive. First, get some silicone caulk and seal every possible crack you can find on the outside of your house. Next, repair any little holes in your window screens. Then, make sure your attic is secure. That's a prime entry point. And finally, a really simple one. They're attracted to light, so turning off exterior lights at night makes your home a much less appealing target. But what if the DIY approach isn't quite cutting it and you want the absolute most effective solution? Well, then it's time to create a professional line of defense they can't even cross. This right here is the gold standard for prevention. A professional can apply a treatment to the exterior of your home in the fall that creates an invisible barrier. So the stink bugs will run into it before they ever find one of those tiny cracks, stopping the invasion before it can even begin. And you know, it helps to understand the science behind why they're so determined. The whole process is called overwintering. You can think of it as a survival tactic, kind of like insect hibernation. Their only goal, their biological mission, is to find a safe, warm spot, like inside your walls, and just shut down until spring comes. It's this incredibly powerful drive that fuels the entire fall invasion. So the takeaway here is pretty clear. The best defense really is a good offense. By sealing up those entry points and being proactive, you're not just stopping a smelly nuisance, you're basically prepping your home for the coming season. So, your fortress is sealed. The only question is, are you ready for winter?